Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined again with Zubin Wadia, the producer of Iron Guard VR. This is actually the second time we've had Zubin on the podcast.
Puts a big smile on my face.
We had him on ages ago when Iron Guard was still on App Lab. Now it's on the official Quest store. It is a top...
Over a year?
Yeah, they just celebrated their 1-year anniversary of it. It's a top-down VR tower defense game. It's one of our favorite games in VR. I mean, it's so well polished. It's a genre that I would argue is still too ignored
Uncharted.
in VR. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it's so fun. You know, we did a whole review on it. Like I said, we interviewed you previously, so I won't do a full, in-depth score of it or anything. But beyond just being a top-down tower defense game, you get to interact in the game too with shooting stuff with your trigger.
More than just watch. Yeah.
But still, like all tower defense games, the strategy in of which you build is essential. You can't just go in recklessly.
I used to dominate the leaderboards in that game.
Yeah, but
used to.
I was going to say it's grown quite a bit, especially since it's hit the official store. But before we get too carried away, like we always like to do, Zubin, do you mind to give a little intro of yourself and also maybe a little bit better than we were just butchering? Tell our listeners a little bit, exactly what Iron Guard VR is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me again, guys. I think you guys covered it pretty well. I'll try to top that. But yeah, so Iron Guard was our first VR game. It's a tower defense game, but we wanted to kind of extend, in the VR medium, and make sure that it's not only just your atypical tower defense game, but we want to make sure the players are interacting with the environments, with the turrets, with the enemies as the creeps kind of swarm, kind of flow in. So, we have the hand interactions and, where you can control stuff in the game. So you're almost like this 20-foot giant or 10-foot giant, overlooking a battlefield, building your cannons and your different upgrades, while at the same time also in the trenches, so to speak, firing at the enemies, that are trying to attack your base. And there is an underlying story also to that, so which we tried not to make it too heavy, but it's basically about beware of AI, as AI is actually now more and more in everyone's space. So yeah, I think that's kind of the gist of Iron Guard. And
I mean, it's very well done as well. It's addicting. Mm-hmm. You really want to complete the game, both for gameplay and the story is pretty good too. It keeps you engaged. You want to get to the next chapter of it. And like you referenced, leaderboards. Yep. So not just beat a level, go back in, try to conquer the leaderboard. It's a very well.
Mad props to the number ones right now. I really do.
Exactly. Don't feel too bad. None of the devs are on the leaderboard anymore, so we've all been blown away. But yeah, I think overall, the scope of the game is like 30 levels. And I know since we spoke last time, you did mention about endless mode, which we did add in. So that was like a big upgrade, which we did probably 6 months into the game's release. So yeah, now every level has an endless mode. So once you finish all 30 levels, that unlocks the endless mode, and you can play for hours at end for every level, and that has its own leaderboard. So
play for hours on end should you be successful enough with the strategy of what you put. No, the game has always been endless fun with me, regardless. Before there was even an endless mode, I always liked going back, and there were certain levels that were my favorite, so I'd always go back to those. But I've loved seeing the movement with the game. It's never been stagnant. Even though to me the last time we had spoken, it was a very finished product.
Could have left it alone completely, 100%.
I was like, didn't anticipate seeing much more needed, or that from a consumer standpoint, not from the creator standpoint, where it's like your child, where it's probably never going to be perfect enough. But no, it's always been enjoyable.
And like we referenced at the start, it was on App Lab. It was one of our top App Lab games, and you just celebrated your 1 year on the official Quest store. So do you want to tell us a little bit, what's it been like since the game kind of, like we always like to say, graduated from the App Lab store to the official Quest store?
Yeah, no, I think it's been an amazing journey for that 1 year that we've, been on the store. Definitely App Lab initially was, in all honesty, a struggle, so to speak, because we're competing with a lot of titles, a lot of unfinished titles, a lot of experimental stuff, which is all great. I think that's a great platform for App Lab, but, to get a finished product, as you said, so we did finish the entire game before we released it on App Lab. We were not experimenting, so to speak. We were all vested into it. So yeah, no. So from App Lab, on getting onto the Quest Store, it was a big boom that we had. Obviously not only in terms of sales, but just recognition. We have a lot more activity now on our Discord channels. People coming in, players sending emails. So I think that aspect of it, was a great, uptick that we had once we got into the official store. So, we're grateful to Meta and all the other supporters who kind of enabled us to get to that destination. But yeah, no, and I think after that, it kind of triggered a whole lot of different experiences, I would say, like in terms of just trying to push the marketing, playing around with the different things on the back end of how, what we should do, changing tags, or whether it's changing, your artwork or whatever it is, your marketing stuff that you need to do. We definitely had to play around a lot of that once we got into the App Store. So, yeah.
Well, it was always a top rated experience, and for good reason. I saw you just pulled up.
I couldn't resist. I'm like, I haven't looked at what their rating's been for a while, but on the official store, 4.7.
Which is amazing to maintain that. I mean, it was always a high ranking on App Lab, but a lot of App Lab is
with a higher amount of actual written reviews than normal too, which is kind of nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, App Lab is, sometimes games will maintain a high score because you're pulling in the audience. You really have to earn the audience to get to your game. So if they're finding you on App Lab, it's probably because they're interested in tower defense. They somehow found it, maybe a Reddit post or something like that. Whereas in the official store, you're getting much more just random traffic.
And as bad as, or I shouldn't say bad, as hard as App Lab can be because of that marketing aspect, where it's really all that onus is 100% on the developer to get the work, whatever it takes. But once you've done it and you've accomplished it, you probably have an edge to a lot of individuals who are just getting into that, because you've been there. You've done it. You've had to fight through the struggles of both getting it from App Lab to the store, as well as getting that, trying to build the community. And so hats off to the team for that. Because
thank you. Yeah, I think that's a valid point, because, for App Lab, it's more of your, hardcore gamers and developers who have visibility always on you. It's not always the general audience, although it's changing a lot now. But so, we were happy that on App Lab, we were doing great. We got good positive feedback. So we're like, okay, we're on the right path. Now, the next challenge was obviously when we got into the store, was to make sure that kind of held with the general audience, also the general players, people who haven't even played tower defense games, let alone in VR. So we wanted to make sure that kind of game kind of spoke to them. So not only was the messaging important, but I think we took that time and that mindset in the early development to make sure that we don't kind of abandon, the general players who would want to first time jump into VR, or first time get introduced to tower defense, style games. So I think that kind of, worked out, and we hit the target, so to speak. So we're happy with that. Yeah.
It's also one of the few games that, I mean, if you really dissect it, has a perfect balance of the traditional tower defense, where I build turrets and I build flamethrower, whatever I want to do.
Could work flat screen with that element.
The actual you involvement, which to me is like personally kind of a new thing to tower defense, and then the percentage of story that's introduced and put in there for the lore. It's like a very good balance of material.
Yeah, I think sometimes developers are a little scared to do what works in flat screen, because it has to all be, everything has to be interaction and use VR. But you look at a game like Iron Guard VR, it takes what works flat screen with tower defense games, and then it sprinkles in that magic of VR.
And just to be on the record, the environment is definitely not that of flat screen. It is it's a true 3D
immersive environment. You just meant in like core gameplay style. It's true to the tower defense genre.
I appreciate the balance, because even if it was 100% traditional tower defense, being a tower defense lover, I'd probably enjoy it. but I enjoy it even more
Mm-hmm.
because the success rate is a little dependent upon
You.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to finish really hard levels without involvement. I just don't think it's possible. So and then to digest the amount of story that's put on you, it's not too heavy where you're like, I just want to play the game. So it's done really well.
Yeah, I mean, huge props.
Obviously, 4.7.
Yeah,
it's freaking awesome.
Well,
and a 1 year anniversary.
Well deserved, and something that we had talked about on our first interview when we spoke. It was right at the outbreak of the Ukraine war, and this team is a team that split America, Russia, and Ukraine. At least when we had spoke last time. So, how's the team doing? I know we spoke a little bit off air, but it's, for people that follow the Iron Guard and know that story, I think it might be good for them to get a little update as well.
We still have the same core team. Everyone's doing fine, and everyone's moved around a lot, I would say, over the last 2 years. But everyone's safe and happy and healthy, and we're actually continuing development on multiple stuff. Yeah,
it's amazing
that's huge news.
The team was able to stay safe. Like you said, maybe a little bit of moving around, but everybody's safe, and you all still kept putting out a considerable amount of updates and works on the game.
And full disclosure, when we first spoke, it's like I think that was at like the early stages.
Oh, I think it just happened.
Yeah. And it was like
a lot of uncertainty, a lot of nerves,
a lot of emotion, concern. I mean, you just name it. It was checking all the boxes. So
honestly speaking, we didn't know where we would be after releasing, when we spoke. So, but I'm happy to report everything is, stable, and I think the team has withstood everything, and I think the passion comes out in all the stuff that we're doing, including the mixed reality stuff that we've been working on, for the last six odd months now.
I love to hear that. And do you want to talk a little bit about what this mixed reality? Let's get into it.
Right into the mixed reality.
You have a new mixed reality kind of spin-off that's a free app right now on App Lab. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that mixed reality mode is and maybe the full plans for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to take a step back, when we made Iron Guard, we made a conscious decision not to make it like a tabletop mode. I have nothing against tabletop games. It's just that we wanted to make sure we immerse the players in the VR medium, to make sure that they kind of experience that 360 degrees battle, phenomena, so to speak, where you have things happening from every side and you're looking around, whether you're running, you're teleporting, all that stuff is there, but you're still in that environment, right? So we extended that to the mixed reality version of the game. So it's called Iron Guard Homecoming, and it's kind of a continuation. From Iron Guard, and hopefully in the future we have Iron Guard 2. So it's kind of an in-between Iron Guard and Iron Guard 2, where we have the mixed reality mode, which is the homecoming mode, where the planet that you escaped from in the first game comes back to your home, to Earth, to attack you. So that's where the mixed reality aspect kind of kicks in, where, again, it's not a tabletop mode. It's nothing like the original Iron Guard game. You essentially open a portal in your home, and there's a back-end story which we're still working on, which we'll kind of update as we go along. And you have waves of enemy come into your living room, literally, and you have to fend them off and save your home, which is a base now. So that's kind of the thought or the process that we had for Iron Guard Homecoming. As you said, it's free. It's on App Lab. It's only got endless mode right now, so it's not like the traditional Iron Guard game. It's endless mode, 2 levels that you can download and play for free. It is available on App Lab, but also if you buy the game, there's on the main menu page, there's a link out that takes you to the game. So if you've got Iron Guard, you can just continue straight into the mixed reality game. Yeah,
which is a genius way to link it to something in App Lab. It's a lot better exposure for the current user to find it, even than being like, oh shit, I haven't looked on App Lab in a month, see what they got.
But then you also don't need to own Iron Guard either to experience it. If you can get the page yourself, you can access it. But it sounds like that this is kind of like the early stages of a much bigger project. Is that correct? You have much more updates?
Yeah. So I think so also it works the other way around. So I think 1 year of the marketing has really taught us quite a few things of how to get a little bit more creative with our titles. So if you download the game from App Lab, there's also a button that links you out to the game, which obviously you need to buy, but it works both ways. So we kind of wanted to make sure we had the maximum amount of exposure to our audience. But yeah, it's still kind of early days for mixed reality for us, at least. This is our first title. We wanted to explore what the different options are, what the medium really has to offer, how players are interacting with it, what do players have to say about it, and obviously, Quest 3, is a big headset. It obviously it works on Quest 2 also, and Quest Pro. But we're hoping that with Quest 3 we can get a bigger mixed reality audience who appreciate the art and the mechanics and the style, and hopefully based on that feedback we can be a little bit more inclusive in our development for mixed reality. It's an unknown for us. With VR it was still out for a few years. We knew what worked, what didn't work. With mixed reality there are so many things, even with Meta, right? I mean, they are developing the APIs and the stuff for the developers that is needed. So we're literally updating stuff on the fly, learning out new things, new features every month. So it's an exciting process. But it's early days for mixed reality, I think. So it's we want to involve the community as much as possible.
Well, games like Iron Guard VR, they're kind of pioneering it, right?
Potential is going to be. Well, I have to get Homecoming. Obviously,
it's free.
It'd be shameful not to.
It's free,
and I want to. And I know you said there's going to be some story that's going to eventually come with that as well. So if I didn't play Iron Guard, but I played Homecoming in the big picture, am I going to miss out on some of the story, or is it done in a way where if you played Iron Guard, you're fine, and if you played this one first, then Iron Guard, it's not like you're going to be lost in the story?
Yeah, no, right now there is no story, but that is our kind of lore that we're kind of building up into. Okay. So we're trying to place it, somewhere where it's a continuity, but it's not connected in any way. Again, as I said, the gameplay is very, very different. You start off, even the weapons actually are different. If you remember in Iron Guard, you have this handheld drone, and now you have this transformational weapon where you can go from a rifle to a shotgun to a sword. So you have these 4 different weapons that you can switch between, and the swarm of enemies that were much smaller in scale, now these are full scale coming into your room. We have a few different enemies also, and they're definitely more violent. So they're firing back at you. You're trying to dodge stuff. So it's definitely got a bigger physical element, I would say, for mixed reality. So you're moving around in your room, dodging stuff, moving stuff around. So that's another thing, right? For the turrets are still kind of the smaller scale that we have in the original game. A little bit scaled up, obviously, but you can move those turrets around. So you can place that on your couch. It's no longer on a platform, right? If you remember the original Iron Guard game has platforms where you can strategically build. But here you can place those turrets wherever you want. You put it on your lamp. You can put it on your dining table if you're playing in whichever room you're playing. And you are the base, right? So the enemies are attracted towards you. Haven't tried it. I don't have that big a space, but how much can you run around in a space to avoid them? So it's a bit of a mix and match. We want to definitely bring that interactive element to the mixed reality experience.
All right, I'm sold.
This sounds like one of the coolest mixed reality experiences.
I was just thinking if you had a gymnasium, and you could start off at the wall and just keep moving.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, to try something like that. I'd love to see that.
The bigger of an area you have, the more that they're coming at you. My goodness. Dude, you're going to turn your room into a tower defense game.
No, I'm a sucker for tower defense.
It's always been one of our favorites.
Yeah.
And dude, this is...
And I love knowing that, I mean, already put in, what'd you say, over 6 months worth of work into...
Well, here's my thing, dude.
Dude, I'm impressed when a picture hangs on my wall, like in
Demio.
Or a little thing hangs from my ceiling. So I'm not hard to impress in mixed reality at the moment.
Let alone your whole room becoming a game. But what I want to know is, so doing the math here, the Quest 3 hasn't been out for 6 months, but you've been working on this for at least 6 months. Who knows when the idea first came into your brain? So, I mean, what was the point that you decided, let's do a mixed reality game. I mean, at that point, Quest 2 is out. There is color pass through with the Pro, but is there enough pros to make a whole game on mixed reality? So yeah, what was that decision like?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. So obviously we didn't have Quest 3s when we started this, we didn't even know what to do in mixed reality, so this was kind of like, should we do this? I didn't even know all the features that would be available in mixed reality. So it was a huge learning curve. Fortunately, we were, we are part of the START program, which Oculus has for developers. So they have the Oculus Start. Now it's, I think, Meta Start. And that's a great incubator program for developers who are really interested in, just developing stuff for VR as well as MR. And, we got early access to some of their code. They would release it in bits and pieces so we could experiment with it. And we're like, okay, this feature looks good. All right, let's plan around that. And then next thing you know, we have a better feature. So I think it was 6 months of gradual, development on all fronts. There were things breaking even right now. They're still broken in many ways. But yeah, I think it was gradually we started developing, just trying to focus on the mechanics and the medium, so to speak, as to what mixed reality would have to offer. We had a set plan that, we can do this and we can do that. But slowly we realized that, we need to focus on a few different APIs, so to speak, and just kind of develop on that and focus and see how we can make that the most expressive kind of item in the game. So it was all like Quest 2. Sorry, I was just going to add, it was all Quest 2 initially, till we got some early dev kits on Quest 3, and then we started, pushing that boundary for development. Yeah.
That must have been such a game changer, getting color.
And getting a smidge of code to be able to start the process would be kind of huge. But I'm curious if like the initial plan was like in magnitude was so much bigger than the ability to get it done in a realistic. But it's good to know that the mental vision is like you know where this can go and what it can do. It's just okay, we have to start here before we can end up over. So that's a good rope in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine that feeling of getting that Quest 3 on the first time and seeing, that resolution of color pass. So you might have been like, all right, thank goodness we have the early foundation.
Well, the vision, they have that vision even before.
Yeah. I mean,
one way or another, it was coming.
It's considered risky to get into VR for a lot of people than to go into uncharted territory completely with mixed reality. They don't even have all the tools out yet for developers. And you reference
all these devs are risk takers. They all are.
No,
every single one of them, or you wouldn't be doing VR.
Complete rock stars, to say the least. Complete badasses, to take that chance. But then consumers like us, we have these experiences like
we wouldn't have had.
Yeah. So I mean, what's it been like developing for a platform that doesn't even really exist yet? There's not the tools. Are you like building your own custom workarounds that you then have to take out when they do official? What's that? What's that all like?
It's been a mixed blessing. Let's just say that. I mean, there are days when you absolutely love it, and then there are days when you question. It's like, why the hell did I do this? So I think some of the earlier times, especially when we were doing it with the Quest 2, with the pass-through, we're like, oh man, this pass-through is just not working. Obviously, it's not only color, but just overall the fidelity. And thankfully, the Quest Pro was around that time, so we started like, okay, maybe there is something out here. And then obviously, with the Quest 3 announcement coming, we're like, okay, we know this is going to work. So that was as far as the creative kind of process or the vision goes or the thinking goes. But also, as you said, on the dev side, we were literally working with raw tools with bugs all the time, which were getting updated. We were making our stupid workarounds, which half the time would work, half the time would not work. But again, we had an amazing partnership or a partner in Meta, where they opened up, certain forums for us to access through the START program, that we could access developers. We had talks, we had, a lot of presentations that they would kind of, share with us. So I think that was the good thing that, we're not alone. We have an entire team, an entire army behind us that is doing this groundwork and foundation. And in fact, I think maybe just a little bit for Connect is when they announced the XR simulator. And I think that was a game changer for at least for us, for our team, as for developers, to create mixed reality product, because finally we could actually, create something in a simulation without having to build every time and then hope that it works, and half the time it doesn't work. So I think that, like, even that one key product, so to speak, was, Meta listening to the developers and even proactively just trying to figure out how to make things easier for the community. So I think it's been a rough ride, but I'm glad we've had the support and the backing that we've had.
I love knowing that Meta's actually, it's a good, I guess you don't hear it enough per se, or there's not other devs that are really taking advantage of the resources that Meta is willing to. I mean, I have heard, of course, only rumor, that they're really good with putting someone to work with you when your game is getting on the store, and
developer relations and
they're
stuff like that.
responsive. They're, a lot more helpful than in the back end than people probably know.
Well, especially, I mean, come on, you have to give love to the developers that are taking the chance. They're putting in resources to developing on a platform that doesn't exist yet.
They're investing their lives into something that
doesn't exist yet.
Isn't
6 months ago, there was no Quest 3, like you said.
Correct.
I mean, it's amazing to hear that you had that as a team, of that vision to go, no, let's start to do this. And I mean, how big is the team at this point?
Yeah, I'm curious if it's stretched at all.
No, it's still 6 of us overall, including me. So it's we haven't grown as much. We are working on a bigger project. Hopefully, we'll be able to announce something next year. But and there are bigger plans for that. But yeah, I think it's still the same core team that we were working with. 6 of us, including me, as I said. And again, coming back to the earlier point of Meta, just being very, very proactive. I'm absolutely blown away by their support, and at every level. It's not only once you have the product ready, and now it's like we put in say a marketing support for you, or we'll give you a store rep or anything like that. But even earlier for developers, I think that is kind of key. Having access to the development team. And again, there are different programs that you can sign up with. So even at Connect, I was fortunate enough to get invited for a Connect event, and we had amazing talks. And you felt like you're a part of a family and a community that is trying to achieve something next level. So that puts that confidence back into the developers. So hats off to them.
No, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome.
Yeah, I and again, I think sometimes it's easy we've talked about it, people will be like extra harsh towards Meta because of who it is and what it is. But at the end of the day, I mean, even with their third party accessory makers, they want everybody to be winning in this. This isn't
we've seen the growth of the Made for Meta program. I think Kiwi just had a Made for Meta third party accessory drop.
It's not talked about enough, I guess. But the resources are there if you're a developer and you.
Yeah.
I like knowing that there's a forum that they could communicate, and the networking alone.
There's things to take advantage of at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's not perfect, but I think, there are many aspects of it which, if you're developing for any other big names, forget about it, and the fact that they actually have the same vision and, they believe in this thing, I think that's a big boon for us. We're ready to take the risk. As I said, we know that there's an army behind us and they're supporting us. They're cheering us literally. So I think that's a good thing.
No, I mean, there's other other mixed reality games that do like enemies coming out of the wall at you, but there's none that do it in tower defense style. Build turrets, run around, avoid them. This is complete uncharted territory with the whole story, a whole game built around it. This doesn't sound like just like it's going to stay as the free demo. This is going to become a full blown game. And I imagine, it's kind of like a demo right now that's free, right?
Yeah.
The full game isn't going to be free, right?
So right now it's only 2 levels, and both of them are endless mode. And as I said before, we want to involve the community, the mixed reality community at large, really to understand this medium and, where we can take this. So obviously we have big plans for it, but it'll all kind of depend on, what people have to say, what they, feel about mixed reality. We're kind of trying to study that also aspect of it. So without, not only just creating a product in this new medium, but also trying to understand what works in this medium for players, from all across the board. With VR, it was a little bit easier because there were plenty of titles. There were different platforms. There was Steam. There was, obviously the Meta platform. And then recently, we have Pico and all these other things. So it's definitely there's a lot of information. But with mixed reality, it's very little right now information out there. So we're learning as we go. So who knows? We're hoping it'll be a full-blown product. But we're very much committed to VR also.
That makes sense.
So everybody's is getting involved in mixed reality. You all are the numbers of what is going to be mixed realities.
Correct. The pioneers completely laying the foundation.
It's got to feel pretty exciting to work on something that essentially
doesn't exist.
It's uncharted in so many areas. And then I don't even know again, I told you I'm impressed with a photo hanging up on my wall. I have no clue what limitations there are when you're dealing in multiple worlds like this. Like, what can you do? What can't you do? It can be a game changer for a lot of, and I wasn't the biggest seller on it at all earlier, like years ago.
No,
a year ago. No,
it's doing it in color that really sells you without a doubt.
It's part of that ultimate immersion.
Mm-hmm. You're like, oh my, there's something about your brain just gets used to being in your room for a second, and then all of a sudden some shit's going down and it's getting real fast. It's so fun. I love mixed reality, and I love to know that teams are putting these kind of resources into developing games. But it sounds like that, you said you're still committed to VR. Do you still have more plans for, the base game of Iron Guard, or would you consider that at this point finished product, it's homecoming, and whatever else you guys have in the works as well?
Yeah, so I think the base product for most parts, if something does pop up, if we missed a bug somewhere or someone finds it's rare, we haven't really made many updates. The recent update we did was because of mixed reality, because when you launch the game, as I said before, you have a button which takes you to the mixed reality product. So you don't have to necessarily find it through App Lab, but you can even just go through the store in a way. So you can find the game through that. But I think the core product for most part, that's done. We will be focusing on seeing where to take the mixed reality product. We just released it last week, so it's a little early to see what the reaction is. But I think it's really kind of interesting because, as I said, it's not only the medium, but also the dev part of it, right? I mean, we are so excited for the new releases that Meta does. Like, I think just around, I think it was Connector, they announced the Mesh API and the Depth API. These are amazing tools, which, I wish I had 6 months ago. But we want to kind of, explore those things and see how those kind of fit into our gameplay, because that adds in a new dimension. As you said, there's so much happening with mixed reality. That adds a new dimension where, now you don't have, you're automatically scanning your environment and using your environment in the game, right? It does all the proper depth sorting for you, so you don't have these weird overlaps and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we are learning also through this. And as I said, as Meta is updating and evolving its libraries, we are kind of working on that also. So
it seems like the technology right now is moving faster than. I mean, it's like I don't know how teams everyone grasping one thing, and then somebody figures something out, and then there's new hardware, new software,
new developer tools, new SDKs,
and it just begun. So it's like, what the hell is everything going to look like 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Oh,
insane.
It'll all be AI.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's where the story of Iron Guard becomes the reality. We're all just training with this mixed reality game.
And ahead of the curve with the storyline for Iron Guard.
Yeah.
Right before the cusp of it coming to, all the doom and gloom of AI is going to take over. And
no, I'm pretty hyped to go check out Homecoming. And hey, I encourage all of our listeners to go check it out. It's free. I know
they've all heard us talk about Iron Guard a lot. So,
and even Iron Guard, you go for the full game of Iron Guard, it's $14.99. It's a steal.
And you know what? It's one of the and I shame on us for overlooking this at times. But when people ask, what's a good game for somebody who's new to VR?
Oh my goodness, Iron Guard. No VR sickness you're going to get with that one.
Yeah, you're not doing the flying around.
No, I mean, it's a great, and people like tower defense games. That's a very popular niche niche, and I love them. So here we are,
I'm sold. I just get the shit-eating grin every time you say tower defense.
Yeah, no, and it's cool to see, like I said, you all take the chance to do that in VR. But if somebody wants to go check out Homecoming, they check it out, they love it, or they want to give some feedback, what's the easiest way for somebody to do that? Do you guys have a Discord dedicated to
we do have a Discord. It's not a dedicated Discord, it's a general Discord we have for Iron Guard. We probably have a mixed reality section in there now that I think about it. We should probably have that next week, hopefully. But yeah, it's, we're active on Discord. All the devs are there, so yeah, feel free to message us there. There's reviews, obviously, we kind of monitor that very closely, along with other forums, Reddits, and also, yeah, by all means, Discord, I think, would be the best place, though, for us.
I think the Iron Guard Discord was one of the first ones
that we ever joined.
Yeah, I think so.
It's funny how much things have changed over the last, almost 2 years. How much, we've grown. We didn't really even know Discord that too much when we first started the podcast. Now we know quite a bit about it. Iron Guard just came out, App Lab to the official store. So,
dude, that was such a good score.
Yeah.
There's a few that you get your paws on, but what I liked about it too is it was one of those examples where we instantly were like, why isn't this on the store? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I encourage all of our listeners, both check out Iron Guard.
Check out the last interview we did also. For sure.
A lot of emotion in that one, but $14.99 for the full game of Iron Guard. But Homecoming's free. I can easily, anything that's free, I can.
Free, and you can go into Discord and you can actually, because it sounds like this is going to be heavily community driven to an extent, so it's like if you have real feedback and you're into mixed reality, then this is a great opportunity to actually contribute.
Well, and if it's something that you want to see come to, reality, no pun intended, you guys got to.
What is reality anymore?
You all are still looking for that feedback, so go try it. It's free. Homecoming's free. Go download it, hop in. If you love it, or it's something you want to see become a reality, go drop a store review for it. That's so important. Go let them know in the Discord. Let's make this game a reality because it sounds so freaking fun. Sounds like so much potential.
I'll let you know soon.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I'll be downloading that shortly. And is Discord the best way to stay up to date with all the latest and greatest for Iron Guard?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're most active on Discord and Twitter. So we have our XLab digital Twitter account. So by all means, those are the places that we mostly post all the updates. Yeah.
Sweet.
I always say Discord's for like the hardcore user or person who wants to be involved in something, and then you got the other social media platforms for the.
And I got one last question regarding Homecoming. You've done a great job selling me on. I'm so hyped on this. If it's something that becomes, that you guys go full steam ahead with, is it something that you would like to see released this year, next year, or no hard dates at all? You're just kind of playing around?
No, we're just playing around. We're just kind of scoping it. We're excited. Obviously, we have a full plan and a story in place, but it's considerable investment for on our part, not only monetarily but in all ways. So we're kind of just playing it day by day just to see how it kind of reciprocates, with the audience and just the whole mixed reality environment ecosystem, how it kind of develops. As I said, we will be doing small updates, and we'll continue to do stuff. We're not done with it by a long shot, but I think it's nowhere going to be close to a full finished product, in the next couple of months or something like that. We want to take our time with this one because I think it's a big learning curve for us. I'll give you a simple example. Sorry, again, going back on the dev side, like I mentioned earlier, it's the XR simulator, right, that came out just a little around Connect. And that kind of increased our productivity almost, I would say, 2x to 3x. Stuff that we were struggling with for months, we could do that, in no time. And we're like, wow. So, stuff like that. So it all depends, obviously with Meta pushing new updates, we are trying to figure out our stuff, how it plugs in. So I think we're enjoying this as almost like an academic / process of R&D process, so to speak. But we're also excited because it kind of lends us to show to other clients, right, that we have that, hey, you know what, this is a possibility. And, not only for games, but it could be for something else also that, we could be doing with, other clients soon. So we have kind of kept our options open as far as that goes right now. But having said that, we're not only doing mixed reality, we have another kind of title in early development right now. So I would love to come back maybe next year sometime and give you guys some more scoop on that. But it's still early. But yeah, so as I said, we are fully committed to VR and mixed reality also, but we got to pace out with mixed reality just to see the acceptance and where things go.
No, I think a yearly check-in with Zubin.
Oh, it's a must. It's a must.
Yeah.
Well, and what I like is there's no the studio. I mean, studio is 6, and they're not just staying satisfied with one thing or saying
hustling.
like, okay, we did that. Let's go into some other scope of technology. It's like you're committed to the cause. You're staying ahead, I think, of where a lot of people are at. You're willing to try things.
Take a chance. It's the equivalent of going on a boat with no map.
And more importantly, we got confirmation. Don't even need to poke the bear to figure out
you slipped in
details.
Somewhere Iron Guard 2. That was a plan for a sequel somewhere in your brain, whether or not
an
ever.
Iron Guard 2. There could be other projects. It's just good to know that the studio is continuing to move forward. And I've been enjoying so far everything you put on the table. So I've got a lot of, I think a year from now, I'm going to have a boatload of questions.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's like they're going on a boat with no map and searching for land that may or may not be
that
there.
Nobody has seen or discovered.
Yeah,
yet.
It's real ballsy.
I love it. The only thing that kind of saddens me, and it makes me laugh, but at the same time, I'm like, there's going to be a group of developers in 2 years who are going to be like, man, do you remember when we had to do all that work from ground up to make a game? And now all these people are coming in and they're able to use 2 programs.
Drag and drop.
Oh, dude. It's just, but there are people who will wait for that. And then there's studios like this who are going to not wait, and they're going to go, well, we'll write the rules. Why not?
And I bet you that the feedback that the developers that are currently working on mixed reality, I bet you that that's a big part of the basis of the tools that come out. That's how Meta learns that this is what the developers need, So really,
I think it's exciting.
Really kind of one of the pioneering the mixed reality space. And I can't wait till we're at the point that, right now we see mixed reality as a game mode in a lot of games. You're kind of ahead of the curve with a spin-off title. We're going to be at the point in, 8 months, a year, that there's full-blown story-based mixed reality games. That's going to be amazing, and it's due to studios like this. So huge props. I'm always appreciative of developers taking their time, talking with us, letting us know what's coming up, and I am so hyped for Homecoming now. Like I said, we won't poke too much what else is in the works, but we'd love to have you back on in a year.
Probably be talking about that next week.
Yeah, be good to...
Yeah, I think we should do a yearly update, because it's not... Again, I wasn't expecting you as a studio to keep making the moves you're making, which is not a shot at all to the people. I always loved the product. Could have slept good at night knowing like that's what you get, and I'll still go back to it and play it. But to know now we're kicking things up a notch. We're staying ahead of that edge or technological curve. I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's actually hyped. I'm like
ready to play it.
I'm almost a little jumpy with excitement, because and there's things coming we don't even know about.
Yeah, like I said,
Zubin knows about, and it's going to be cool when everything's coming out.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back on when that's ready.
Happy to be back. Yeah, we're really excited. As I said, we've, I think, found our momentum, our groove now. It's been a lot of hard work and learning that we've had over the past few years, including with the release of Iron Guard. But I think we're getting, up there to kind of try to push up ourselves and our own comfort level, more and more. So I think we are really excited for, hopefully what the next, whatever's next that comes. So we're happy to share that with everyone.
I love to hear that.
And knowing that we confirm that the team is
doing good
in life situations that is in a safer space for all parties, then that cool. I can't imagine what you guys were, not to beat a dead horse with it, but what you all were doing at that time period. I can't imagine being in those shoes, but still wanting to push forward with developing a project or being able to make a contribution to that project.
Well, check this.
So knowing that that's out of the way, and that's not
he said they just got their groove, and look what they put out without their groove.
I know.
You know,
know.
so I mean, that just
I
sold
know.
me. I mean, geez, if that's what you guys were able to put out in Rocky territory,
Yeah.
I think that the
I'm just looking
future
at
is
the
bright.
emotional, not even
Yeah.
like the emotional toll would be too much, I think,
Mhm.
for people I cared about to know what was happening in the.
But no, they kept working. They kept improving the game. They got it on the official store. More stuff to come, and you're just now, like you said, hitting your groove. Wow, I think the future's bright. So always welcome back on when that game's ready to be talked about next
open
year.
door.
You know, open door for sure. Again,
you.
to our listeners, if you like tower defense games, holy moly, go check out Iron Guard VR.
You like them, you're gonna love this.
And whether or not you've played Iron Guard or not, go check out Homecoming. It's free. Iron Guard Homecoming. Free mixed reality game. You know, you get an early glimpse of what could be
$14.99
for the full game.
30 levels.
Yeah,
dude. It's like you're not finishing this in an hour.
but I can't say it enough. If you try Homecoming, if you enjoy it, if you want to see it become a full game, I mean, go leave it a store review. Go
start trolling in their Discord.
Go let them know in the Discord, you know, and you know, give some feedback as well of how to make it the mixed reality experience that you kind of dream of. I mean, this is developers are still learning. It's uncharted territory, so the only way that things become a reality or they learn and they improve is with that type of feedback. So, you know, thank you so much, Zubin, for taking the time to chat with us. But before we let you go real quick, I always like to ask, you know, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today in terms of updates or anything like that we didn't go over? I think this was I'm freaking hyped for Homecoming, so I'd say it's a success.
No, thank you. It's been amazing, you know, catching up with both of you. And I think the only thing I'd say in closing is that I'm looking forward to coming back and sharing some really kick-ass stuff next time around.
That's awesome. I can't wait.
I think some good things are coming.
Yeah, great studio. Honestly, the publisher too of Iron Guard, Andromeda, they're a great VR publisher. They really take a chance with titles that, you know, it's not the same, you know, shooters and rhythm games, and you get innovative stuff like Iron Guard. So both in the actual studio itself, the publisher, everybody involved in Iron Guard is something special. Yeah, for sure. So thank you again for taking the time for that, Zubin, and hopefully we can get you back on in about a year or so.
Absolutely.
And to the listeners, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and more importantly, go check out Iron Guard and Iron Guard Homecoming for innovative mixed reality.